Proudly broadcasting from the Richard Philip Cavallaro studio.
WRHU.
Hempstead.
You've discovered
a cornerstone of the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication.
WRHU.
Now, Long Island's largest radio news team brings you the Associated Press award-winning program, Newsline.
Coming up on Newsline, Monday, October 21st, 2024.
President Joe Biden is worried about the release of Israeli attack plans against Iran.
Donald Trump was at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania yesterday serving fries to constituents.
A new House of Representatives report finds stunning failures in security before the first Trump assassination attempt.
And the Central Park Five sue former President Trump over statements that he made.
In business, GoFundMe looks to grow, Brazilians want compensation from a UK court, and Disney has a new chairman. I'm Kenny Foreman, and I'll have all of that and more later in the broadcast.
In entertainment news, Liam Payne, Shaw Diddy Combs, and Elon Musk. I'm Ricky Hubert, and I'll have all that and more for you later in the broadcast.
In sports, the World Series is set, while the New York Liberty win the 2024 WNBA Championship. I'm Zach Weicker, and I'll have all that and more in sports later in the broadcast.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Casella.
And I'm Cameron Bowden. We begin tonight's broadcast in Washington, D.C. After an unauthorized release of classified documents that talk about a potential retaliatory attack on Iran made by Israel, a White House spokesperson has said that the president is deeply concerned about the situation. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby added that, quote, the president remains deeply concerned about any leakage of classified information into the public domain, that it is not supposed to happen and it's unacceptable when it does. He made this statement during a news conference.
We're not exactly sure how these documents found their way into the public domain. I know the Department of Defense is investigating this, and I'm sure that as they work through that, they'll try to determine the manner in which they did become public.
The Biden administration is currently unsure if the information was hacked or leaked. Kirby also made this statement in the same news conference.
We don't have any indication at this point that there's an expectation that there'll be additional documents like this finding their way into the public domain. But, and the but here is important, we're obviously keenly focused on what happened here, on learning how it happened, and preventing it from happening again.
Kirby has also said that the Pentagon is conducting an investigation into the matter, which was confirmed by other U.S. officials. The documents, which were marked as top secret, first made an online appearance on Friday over Telegram. An analyst from the site's intelligence group tracked the initial release to a channel that is popular with Iran-backed militias and originally uploaded by an anonymous user who has a history of posting other top secret information. This is also claimed to have sold some of the information and made it available to the Iranian military.
Former President and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump visited Pennsylvania yesterday, but his choice of venue was nothing short of unique. The former president worked at a McDonald's franchise in Feasterville, Trevose, cooking fries and serving them to customers, as well as hosting a mini news conference and answering constituents' questions. Here is Trump at McDonald's.
I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Trump's visit coincided with claims he made that Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris never worked a minimum wage job. The vice president says she worked at McDonald's during summer as a teenager.
According to new findings from a House bipartisan commission investigating the first attempted assassination on former President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, the incident had, quote, stunning security failures. The panel found that the attempt was, quote, preventable and should not have happened. Former Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano shared that the events of Butler could occur again.
This is a zero-fail mission. For any failure endangers not only the life of the protectee, but also the fundamentals of our government itself. Without these recommended reforms, we believe another Butler can and will happen again.
This report is only the newest investigation into the range of law enforcement failures that occurred leading up to the July 13th rally, which led to the death of a rallygoer and the wounding of two others.
The 5 teenagers who were wrongfully convicted of rape in Central Park, commonly known as the Central Park Five, have sued former President Donald Trump for defamation. During the September ABC presidential debate, Trump made claims that the Central Park Five killed a person and pleaded guilty. Those teenagers did not plead guilty, but spent 5 to 13 years in prison until new DNA evidence and a confession led to their charges being cleared. The lawsuit, filed by Yusuf Salam, Raymond Santana, Kevin Richardson, Antron Brown, and Corey Wise, said that the statements Trump made were demonstrably false.
Today, I sat down with Professor David Green, a political science expert, to talk about further developments with regards to domestic politics, including Vice President Harris's Fox News appearance and former President Trump's visit to McDonald's. Recently, Kamala Harris held an interview on Fox News with anchor Bret Baier about some policies and initiatives. However, largely the interview was well known for the fact that the two kept speaking over themselves. Could you speak to the kind of potential effects that we might see from Kamala Harris going on Fox News and speaking with Baier?
I think it was a smart move for her to go on Fox, to walk into the lion's den, so to speak, something that Donald Trump is avoiding doing. As you probably know, he refuses to do another debate. He canceled on 60 Minutes. He's been canceling a whole host of events, and he certainly doesn't go on, say MSNBC or CNN, or at least not very much. So it shows a certain amount of, I think, political courage on her part. I don't know that there are a lot of persuadable votes there. Maybe there are some women, for example, suburban women who are the kind of classic voter that we think of as a potentially flippable in one direction or another. And maybe they're tuning into that and could be persuaded at this point. But I think most of the folks watching Fox are part of what I would call the Trump cult, and I don't use that term lightly. I mean, I do think that quite a lot of his following exhibits kind of cult-like psychological manifestations. So when you're in a cult like that, when that's your mentality, you just sort of suspend all reality and suspend all disbelief, and your attitudes are just not changeable. So, and I guess I would say something a little bit similar about the host attitude. I think a lot of women will recognize that behavior in belligerent men and don't like it. And to that extent, maybe there are handfuls here and there that could be put off by that and react favorably to Kamala Harris. And, I guess the one point I would make with respect to all this, even if it's only a few votes here and there, everything we know about this election, and we could be wrong about this, but everything we know about this election so far is suggesting that it's going to be incredibly close. So a few votes here and there could be quite dispositive. So that may have been a pretty smart move on her part.
With Trump going to this McDonald's, he learned how to make the fries wearing, the classic McDonald's apron and was handing it out to constituents, answering their questions. What kind of media impact do you think Trump going to a McDonald's and working, with those people might have on, this outcome of this election?
It's a weird event because, lots of candidates try to position themselves and market themselves and brand themselves as a person of the people, and that's why I think Kamala Harris and other candidates in the past have done things similar, would say, I grew up middle class or lower middle class or working class, and I worked at McDonald's and stuff like that, to show, A, that you're sort of normal, and B, that you understand the economic frustrations of, 80% or so of the population. For most people who do it, I think they do it honestly and it's plausible. For Donald Trump, I think that's pretty weird because, he really has, I think, branded himself as this extremely rich, extremely successful business person. It's unclear if either one of those things is actually true, but that's certainly the way he has marketed himself, and he did that for, a dozen years or something on The Apprentice. So I don't know what he's doing there. I guess maybe the idea was for him to put on the apron and work for 5 minutes, for him to be able to say, look, I worked at McDonald's and Kamala Harris is a liar. I've now worked at McDonald's for 15 minutes longer than she ever did, which I think is what he said. I don't know of any evidence that suggests that she's lying about that. And of course, Trump is an evidence-free zone. I mean, he makes all kinds of assertions, and there's almost never any evidence to back them up. So it seems to me a stunt. I don't think we're going to be talking about it in a week, let alone in 10 years.
Thank you to Dr. David Green for speaking with me.
A federal judge heard arguments today about whether or not he should block a new Louisiana law requiring the Ten Commandments be displayed in all public classrooms. A lawsuit was filed against the state over the summer by concerned parents of public school children who claim the bill is in violation of the First Amendment's clause forbidding an established religion. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry is in favor of the bill, telling concerned parents this at a press conference in August.
If those posters are in school and they find them so vulgar, just tell the child not to look at it.
U.S. District Judge John W. DeGravels listened to arguments from both sides of the issue during today's hearing, and it is unclear when he will make his ruling.
A Texas man is set to testify in front of state lawmakers today to see if they will take him off of death row. 57-year-old Robert Robertson was convicted in 2002 of killing his infant daughter by shaken baby syndrome, a diagnosis that is considered outdated science by some medical professionals. Roberson's attorneys claim that the injuries on the infant were from a severe case of pneumonia, which is what actually killed his daughter, not child abuse. After Roberson testifies in front of lawmakers, prosecutors may seek a new execution date at any time.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced a new military aid deal during his visit to the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. This is Austin's fourth and likely final state visit to Kyiv as President Biden's head of the Pentagon. This visit reinforces the Biden administration's steadfast support of Ukraine. However, this year's election casts doubt on this relationship, as former President Donald Trump has stated that if he is reelected, he would scale back aid to the Eastern European nation. Secretary Austin says that he believes support for Ukraine will continue, citing the bipartisan support aid packages received in Congress.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken will push for another ceasefire deal in the Middle East as he travels back to the region. This marks Blinken's 11th visit after the October 7th attacks last year. Blinken aims to talk to regional leaders to reach an agreement to end the war in Gaza and discuss a diplomatic solution between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. U.S. envoys in Lebanon have had meetings with Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri, which were, quote, very constructive.
The self-exiled Turkish spiritual leader Fethullah Gulen died today in the United States. Gulen was an Islamic cleric who was accused of masterminding an attempted coup against the Turkish government. He always denied these allegations, and his philosophy promoted education, democracy, science, and interfaith dialogue. He was critical of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and called him an authoritarian who wanted nothing but power. Gulen died in Pennsylvania of natural causes.
Cuba's capital has been left paralyzed after Hurricane Oscar passed through the eastern coast, and the island as a whole prepares for the fourth night of blackouts. Some small protests have started as a result of the prolonged blackout, with some demonstrators banging on pots and pans, walking around the streets, or standing outside on their balconies. And some protesters, who say they have no water, claimed responsibility for blocking off a street with garbage. The blackout started Thursday night after a power outage affected large portions of Cuba's population, which is an issue that has been heavily protested in the past. Cuba's government has a low tolerance for civil disobedience and unrest, with President Miguel Diaz-Canel warning over national television, quote, "We are not going to allow any vandalism or let anyone disturb people's tranquility." Cuba's power grid has already crashed 3 times since the initial power outage that occurred last Friday.
Ireland's Prime Minister Simon Harris has said that a general election will be held this year in the country. The date of the election has not been announced, as Ireland's government still has legislation to pass, and while Prime Minister Harris has until March to open the polls, some analysts have seen November as the most likely month for the election to take place. At a news conference, Harris says that, quote, "There's going to be a general election this year. The government is going to conclude its work. It's going to do that in an orderly manner." And he repeatedly stated that legislation, which includes enacting a €10.5 billion budget, must be passed before calling for a dissolution of Parliament.
Coming up after your Newsline specialty report with Kenny Foreman, William Floyd High School undergoes random searches following the discovery of a gun on campus. Jury selection is set to start in the case surrounding that fatal chokehold in a Brooklyn subway station, and a new report finds that 58 teachers earned more than $300,000 in the last year on Long Island. But first, your Newsline traffic and weather update with Jackson Warren. WRHU News Time is 5:44.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
On this glorious Monday afternoon, the weather outside is very sunny, with a nice warm breeze of 79 degrees and a wind gust of 15 miles per hour. Heading into tonight, the sky is going to be mostly clear with a couple of clouds, where the temperature will drop to a low of 57 degrees while maintaining a 15 mile per hour wind gust. For tomorrow morning, the weather will be warm with sunshine hitting a high of 76 degrees, holding a wind gust of 13 miles per hour with a 4% chance of rain. For the rest of the week, it's going to be mostly sunny with highs that reaches up to 72 degrees and lows that drop down to 44 degrees. But if I was you, I'll double check with your weather app or your local news for updates. If you're traveling on the road today, look out for these delays. On Garden State Parkway, there's a crash blocking the right lane after exit 160. Expect a 20-minute delay. On Hutchinson River Parkway northbound, there's a left lane blocked due to a crash after exit 12. Expect a 30-minute delay. I'm Jackson Warren, and stay tuned for my second traffic update later on this broadcast.
Newsline Business News.
The crowdfunding platform known as GoFundMe will be making changes to its platform in order to expand to a wider audience. With an ever-growing increase in internet users, GoFundMe is looking to promote charity through methods such as giving video game streamers a way of using the site to promote the causes that matter most to them. This summer, GoFundMe launched a survey which concluded that most cause promotions come from those within the 18 to 26 range. 41% of respondents credited social media with driving them to lend their support, and about 50% say they promote causes at a minimum of once a week. The company will also partner with Meta at the end of the month in order to attract more Instagram users to GoFundMe when going through Instagram stories. Nearly 9 years after a toxic mining waste disaster in Brazil killed 19 people, victims faced a UK court today demanding compensation. The victims are putting forth a class action lawsuit against the global mining company BHP, worth $47 billion in damages. Half of the Brazilian company Samarco is owned by BHP. A dam rupture within an iron ore mine back on November 5, 2015, caused the devastation, which displaced 1,200 people from their homes. BHP and Samarco are in discussions to provide a settlement worth $31.7 billion for those affected, though BHP's attorney Shahid Fatima maintains that BHP had no wrongdoing with the disaster. BHP says that the people should not have to go to the UK since the damages would already be covered by the settlement. The Walt Disney Company will have a new chairman. Morgan Stanley executive James Gorman will become the new chairman of the entertainment company on January 2nd, 2025. A new CEO will also be announced towards the beginning of 2026. Gorman is the chair of Disney's Succession Planning Committee. He also served as Morgan Stanley's chairman from 2012 to 2023 and CEO from 2010 to 2023. Current CEO Bob Iger said, quote, "The Disney board has benefited tremendously from James Gorman's expertise and guidance, and we are lucky to have him as our next chairman." Iger retired in 2020, and now the company is tasked at looking at the candidates both within and outside the organization to be the new CEO, with his contract expiring at the end of the year. With your Newsline Business Report, I'm Kenny Foreman.
Thank you. WRHU News Time is 5:48. Thank you, Jackson Warren and Kenny Foreman, for those reports. A 14-year-old student from William Floyd High School was arrested for carrying an open firearm into the building last week and is now facing criminal charges. The student was originally suspected of vaping, but it was soon realized that the teen was carrying a loaded weapon. High schoolers were seen lining up outside the building this morning, and officials are reportedly conducting random searches of students using metal-detecting wands. The community expressed its concern about the situation. Long Island resident John Bork says that parents should do better to lock away their firearms out of children's reach. The Board of Education will hold an emergency meeting today to discuss the incident. This meeting will not be open to the public.
The trial of Daniel Penny, the ex-Marine who put a man in a fatal chokehold on the New York subway last year, begins today. On May 1st of last year, according to witnesses, homeless man Jordan Neely was riding the subway and shouting at passengers for money. Penny got out of his seat and restrained him, putting him in a chokehold on the floor of the car until Neely's body went limp. This lasted about 6 minutes. Penny pleads not guilty to second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. The case has started additional political conversations about homelessness and mental illness in the city. The trial is expected to feature testimony of passengers who were aboard the subway at the time and video evidence of the incident. Prosecutors say that about 3 minutes and 10 seconds into the video, Neely is shown to have stopped moving voluntarily.
58 Long Island educators are reportedly earning $300,000 a year. This includes a longtime assistant school superintendent who retired with a final year compensation package totaling nearly $600,000. Another 976 Long Island educators are earning $200,000, and the number keeps rising, with New York educators in the $300,000 plus bracket rising 56% statewide over the past 3 years. The New York State Teachers Retirement System shows that over 60,000 Long Island educators are earning nearly $6.3 billion altogether.
WRHU's Dorcas Umaru attended an event over the weekend at Streams of Joy New York Church regarding Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the role that community can play in bringing attention to issues like breast cancer.
When the clouds are full of rain, the emptiness of the earth.
Yesterday afternoon, Streams of Joy New York Church hosted its first event for the Breast Cancer Awareness Month to inform and educate people of all genders. The event featured a panel discussion with survivors of breast cancer and health practitioners, prayers, and giveaways. Church members gathered showing support with everyone wearing a touch of pink. Christian Orji, pastor at Streams of Joy New York, spoke on why the church has to be a part of this movement.
We have to begin to, as a church, practice preventive maintenance. We shouldn't wait till when we're hit or when our families hit with like cancer before we react. We should know the things we should do to prevent stuff like that. So in as much as we're praying as a church, we also should be aware, mix the knowledge and the spiritual part of it. That's what makes us unstoppable.
An RN at Lincoln Hospital, Mrs. Ijeoma Ihe Binandu, who was one of the panelists, shed more light on breast cancer.
Breast cancer is a serious issue, and when you check the statistics, it's second cause of death, and it's killing a lot of women. There are other cancers. They have liver, they have kidney, they have skin cancer, but they choose to do this awareness because a lot of women are dying of breast cancer.
The moderator of the panel session, Mrs. Uche Charles Uti, spoke on the importance of educating ourselves about this disease.
Knowledge is power. If you don't know it, you don't know it. So we need to sensitize everybody. Women, the men, everybody. We need to know that this monster called cancer is out ravaging people's life everywhere, and we need to know what to do and how to do it.
Mrs. Leslie Abaha, a cardiovascular nurse who was one of the survivors of breast cancer on the panel, shared that this issue is not only related to women.
Everybody should be involved in breast cancer awareness. It doesn't matter if you're a man. Men do have breast cancer. They also have mastectomy. They cut off their breast if there's cancer. The way it affects women, it affects men. But one thing you should know is that the symptoms are different, the findings are different. Depends on how you found it and what tests you have done.
Ijeoma spent time discussing some symptoms women could pay attention to when checking for breast cancer.
Some showed up with breast lump, which can be easily detected when you do your breast examination. And that's why we're encouraging all the women to do this, know your breast shape and structure.
And Leslie also shared the role that community played in her recovery journey, specifically her church.
The church is a great support group, especially Streams of Joy New York. I'll tell you, my experience was amazing. In fact, the visiting to my house, I never wanted it to end because they kept coming. Even if it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, my door was open for everybody.
Those in attendance say the church's responsibility is to take care of everyone in totality, ranging from the spirit, body, and soul. Reporting in Meadow Flushing, Queens for Newsline, I am Dorcas Umaru, WRHU.
I am unstoppable.
Thank you to WRHU's Dorcas Umaru for that report.
Ørsted has submitted the finalized proposal for its Long Island Wind Project, which aims to generate enough renewable energy to power up to 1 million homes. Ørsted, which currently operates New York's first offshore wind farm, plans to meet nearly 6% of New York's electricity demand by combining this new project with its existing operations. The Long Island Wind Project would further bolster New York's transition to clean energy.
Coming up, your Newsline Entertainment Report with Ricky Hubert and your Newsline Sports Break with Zach Weicker. But first, your Newsline Traffic Update with Jackson Warren. WRHU News Time is 5:54.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
If you're traveling towards LaGuardia or JFK, look out for these delays. As of right now, there's no destination delay, but there is a departure and arrival delay at both airports that are looking to last at least 15 minutes or less. If you're heading towards the LIRR today, you're in luck. As of right now, each branch on the LIRR is running on time, so don't be late. For traffic updates, there is a crash on I-95 northbound off of exit 72. There is a crash blocking off the right and left lane on George Washington Bridge. Expect a 25-minute delay. On I-295 southbound, 2 lanes are blocked off due to a crash after exit 63. Expect a 20-minute delay. That is all the traffic and weather updates for now. I'm Jackson Warren.
Newsline. Entertainment.
Toxology reports show that at the time of his death last week, Liam Payne had multiple drugs in his system, including, quote, pink cocaine. Pink cocaine is a recreational drug that includes ketamine, MDMA, opioids, amongst other drugs, as per the National Institute of Health. The local public prosecutor in Buenos Aires, where Payne passed away, died of, quote, says that he died of, quote, multiple trauma and, quote, internal and external hemorrhage as a result of his fall from the balcony. A new set of lawsuits have emerged for Sean Diddy Combs, this time accusing him of raping a 13-year-old girl, alongside other unnamed male celebrity. The woman accusing Combs of raping her at 13 years old has chosen not to reveal her identity to the public. The plaintiff claims that Combs raped her in September of 2000 when she attempted to sneak into the MTV Video Music Awards. As per the lawsuit, the young woman was unable to enter the arena but was told by a limousine driver to return later as she was, quote, what Diddy was looking for. It then describes how the driver took her to an after party where she had been given a beverage that made her feel, quote, woozy and lighthearted, causing her to go to a bedroom and lie down where the alleged rape occurred. This comes as one of the 5 new civil lawsuits accusing Combs of sexual assault and rape. The cases come from 3 men and 2 women between the years of 2000 and 2022. Combs and his legal team still deny the rumors that he was ever raped or that he's ever raped or sexually assaulted anyone. Alcon Entertainment, the production company behind the film Blade Runner 2049, has sued Warner Brothers Discovery in addition to Tesla and its CEO Elon Musk. The lawsuit comes after alleged AI-generated images depicting scenes from the film used for the launch of Tesla's self-driving robotaxi represent copyright infringement. Alcon said in their lawsuit that they have no affiliation with, quote, Musk, Tesla, X, or any Musk-owned company, due to, quote, Musk's massively amplified, highly politicized, and arbitrary behavior, which sometimes veers into hate speech. With your entertainment report, I'm Ricky Hubert, WRHU.
From the Philip Cavallero Sports Desk, this is your Newsline Sports Update.
The New York Islanders get ready to play the Red Wings tomorrow night at 6:45. General Manager Lou Lamoriello announced Anthony Duclair will be out long-term rather than short-term. The French-Canadian forward notched 2 goals and 1 assist in his first 5 games with the club. After losing in the finals last season, the New York Liberty can finally call themselves WNBA champions. This is the first time in the league's 27-year history that the Liberty have won it all. The last time a New York pro basketball team has won a championship was in 1976, when the New York Nets defeated the Denver Nuggets in 6 games to win the American Basketball Association championship. To secure the crown, last night in a sold-out Barclays Center, the Liberty beat the Lynx 67-62 in an all-time classic. With 5.2 seconds left on the clock, Breanna Stewart was sent to the foul line, where she won 2 for 2 to send the game to OT. In overtime, the Liberty outscored Minnesota 7-2. Jaquil Jones led New York, going 5 for 10, scoring 17 points. The New York Yankees will take on the Dodgers in the World Series. The Yanks took down the Guardians in 5 games, while LA conquered the Mets in 6. Last night, the Dodgers sealed the deal, winning 10-5 over the Mets. Game 1 of the World Series will take place this Friday in LA. Time of the contest is to be determined. With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Zach Weicker.
That will do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU News team. Engineering our show this evening is the positively profound Parker Driscoll and the astronomically awesome Alex Hoy.
Thank you for tuning into Newsline, only here on your 4-time Marconi Award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
Access real-time local Long Island, New York, and global news, along with content from WRHU Talent, Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 6 p.m.
And tune back in from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday morning for our talk show, where we discuss Long Island life, national news, and international issues from the minds and mouths of Hofstra students on the Morning Wake Up Call.
Lastly, check us out on social media at WRHU News for behind-the-scenes content.
For Newsline, I'm Chris Casella.
And I'm Cameron Bowden.
Thank you for listening.
And have a splendid evening, Long Island.
Newsline is a presentation of Long Island's largest radio news team, comprised of nationally recognized student broadcasters, winners of numerous awards from the Associated Press, Society of Professional Journalists, Radio Television News Directors Association, Hearst Corporation, Long Island Press Club, and other prestigious organizations. Newsline is researched and produced by student journalists using the Hofstra News Hub, cutting-edge multimedia news gathering technology, located in Hofstra's School of Communication. To learn more about News Hub and the Hofstra School of Communication, log on to hofstra.edu. To learn more about News Hub and the Hofstra School of Communication,